Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, getting ready for another weekly closure on this lovely Sunday. As always, wish you the best, and the happiest. We got plenty to talk about today in the short-term timeframes. Also want to be following up on the long-term timeframes as well, as we do have, like we said, the weeklies closing a little bit later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, obviously, this does take a bit of a second seat to what we saw in CMEs for Friday, for Bitcoin specifically, that is. But there's plenty of things going on right now that are staring me right in front of my face that are going to make me eat my words soon enough, and fair enough, credit to them. So with that said, I would like to wish you, once again, the best. And because I always forget if I've actually done it, but it's free, so might as well do it, man. Might as well do it because it can only help, I think. At least that's what I think. Okay, so with that said, let's put the focus over here on the Krown Chain application, which we found at app.krownchain.net. And what do we see? We do see one major thing going on right here. Bitcoin dominance coming down another full percent as Bitcoin does hold a range. So we have seen, obviously, a range constructed between about $30,000 base and $40,000 ceiling. And with that in mind, ever since Bitcoin's essentially gotten in this region, we actually have seen alts, for what it's worth, rally as Bitcoin does play out a sideways range. Now, with that said, I am still a little bit hesitant to call a full-on alt market, because what I want to see is I want to see Bitcoin be rallying above its current resolution point to the upside. Or, I mean, we could also talk about downside as well, but typically these things do come to the upside, to be fair. And I also want to see alt to rally more versus their Satoshi pairing. If that happens, there's your alt season. It's probably fair enough and all good. With that said, open interest hanging at around 5.5 billion, and that is very interesting right here, because we actually have seen an open interest range started to correlate with price action range, as we do see about a $5 billion base on this and about a $6.5 billion ceiling, correlated with the same price action range at about $30,000 low, $40,000 high. Obviously, those numbers are not exact right there, but I want to see a move outside of the range plus a move above or below the open interest range to kind of confirm or deny a move out, a breakout or a breakdown here, as I search for my words once again. Fear and greed index, also very interesting here. Bitcoin technically did pump on the day. I mean, nowadays, like $1,000 is nothing, so fair enough. From I think it was about 36 to 37, but we did see fear and greed index coming down from an 84 to a 79, which is actually one of the lower reads that we've seen over the last few months. Into the data tab we go now, and what do we see? We do see global funding rate. Yep, definitely back down there once again. What do we see over here? Yeah, everyone's below 0.1% threshold, so nothing to be concerned with as it is right now. But we do have a bit of a throwback after some distribution at the top for the fear and greed index. No, of course not. It doesn't work like that. But we are starting to see a little bit of an uncharacteristic behavior here within the context of the last, Jesus Christ, about a little bit more than 2 months, going all the way back to early November. So with that in mind, this is, again, just it's not actionable in and of itself, but it is a bit of a warning signal. So if we do start to see price action, especially, come down below, let's call it $30,000 for the current low on this structure, then I would be very comfortable calling a reversal here. But that is, to be fair, very well and far away, to be exact, about $5,800 far away. Anyways, with that said, anything else on here that we want to be aware of? Not exactly right now. I don't see anything out of the ordinary right now. So with that said, we're going to start off with the most important thing to be aware of that is happening the soonest, and that would be the weekly right here. The weekly going to have yet again another chance to close above the topside Toronto band, of which Bitcoin has been doing ever since the breakout that we saw from about $20,000 in early December. Now, if we do backtest this here, let me actually put this on log scale so we can see a little bit more. We do see that anytime that Bitcoin does close above the topside Toronto band on the weekly, and we've been using this on the 3-day as well, that has been your melt up price action from this signal given over here on this closure above. Then Bitcoin travels up another 50%. Not bad. Takes a couple weeks for a bit of a consolidation here, which was mostly relevant on the short-term timeframes and not on the weekly. And then boom, you get your next almost 100% move to the upside. Quite nice now, isn't it? And of course, you can go back in the history of Bitcoin and do the same thing. Well, I won't bore you with that right now because we've done that a million goddamn times. However, we can go over here to the 3-day and we can see that this has been operating more recently on CMEs, and it's a little bit of a lower time frame here, being about half of a weekly schedule. So I do look at this as the more immediate trend, as that condition is still being met, and seen as CMEs did close both the last 3-day dildo above the topside Toronto band and the weekly. I do still look at this as more or less a formality, but of course we want to see it further confirmed later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, if Bitcoin does close today's weekly below the topside Toronto band, which is currently at 35,422, so got a nice $400 between where we're at right now and there about. And then I would start to look for another drive to the $30,000 low, maybe even a little bit lower than that. And we could even be looking at, well, potentially a reversal here, although I'd want to see, something a little bit more heavy than that obviously happen, like a daily closure below $30,000 would certainly do it for me, driving targets down much lower. But as it is right now, as long as these conditions are met, I remain bullish on the long term, and I remain mostly just looking for Bitcoin to, consolidate within this region between 30 and 40 and give another try to the upside over time. So with that said, of course, that is closing tonight. Do we have a 3-day closing tonight on spot price action? We do not. We do not. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And just looking at the 3-day structure right here, I'm kind of spoiled surprised of what I'm going to say on the lower term timeframes. I basically have the same thing to say as I did yesterday. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, and technically yesterday was just a sideways bullshit, boring day, as it typically is on a Saturday, although to be fair, over the last couple of months, that actually has been your pump day. However, this is a little bit more in line with what we typically do see. And, basically everything that I said yesterday is what I'm going to say today as far as the lower term timeframes go. Am I still looking for a move to the downside first? Yes, I am. I think 35,000 even is a pretty obvious one right here. Does Bitcoin try another bounce off that region? Probably yes. But does Bitcoin reach lower on top of that? I do still think that is very much possible. I would not be surprised at all if Bitcoin does come down to about 34,000 or 33,000 back around here. But you know what? Let's actually now go methodically through the lower term timeframes and see what we got going on our momentum oscillators. Starting with the 4-hour right here, of which we do see 4-hour Stokes having a fresh cross down after rejecting, getting out of the not bullish, but obviously bearish control zone right here, and they will remain to the downside as long as we are below about 36,800 on the next 4-hour total closure, which is coming in 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 11 seconds. So that's looking a little bit likely right now, although we have certainly seen crazier things than about $1,000 move in about 2.5 hours of price action. 4-hour Jules kind of giving you a bit of a halt or short signal right there. Not anything too damning, but would imply a little bit of short-term downside. 4-hour RSI, again, constructive on the whole, as it did have that lovely move back from what we saw middle of last week. But short-term, again, I would be looking for a little bit of downside here, as we do see historical volatility percentile go into a bit of a contraction phase. So contraction phase within the context of the current price action structure would imply, well, filling out the structure a little bit more. And in this case right here, probably trying for another higher low if I had to guess. Again, the higher term time frame set in the bias for direction, at least for myself. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And then the lower term time frames essentially just kind of pinpoint those sorts of targets and entries and whatnot. And as it seems right here, assuming that the higher term time frame conditions are met, which they already have been on CMEs, I'm essentially bullish coming into next week. But short term, probably Bitcoin does play a little bit of downside here. Anyways, moving on to the 3-hour, what do we see right here? We do see 3-hour, dropping back down. We see 3-hour Stokes in basically the same area, and will remain to the downside as long as we're below 36,411 on the next closure, coming in 40 minutes and 54 seconds. Also 3-hour RSI. Yep, again, constructive on the whole. Short-term down, however, and contracting a little bit more aggressively here on 3-hour HVP as you would expect. And we do have a natural support coming in right around about $33,000, which is our current low structure for this consolidation phase. As you can see, I think it's very easily shown by the 200 simple and 200 exponential average on this time frame. Anyways, moving on to the buy hourly, what do we see right here? We do see same shit basically. Hey, it's a head and shoulders. No, just kidding. This is not a head and shoulders joke. Head and shoulders are just becoming like a fucking meme. Everyone wants to call it, like, the problem is that head and shoulders actually are okay in certain situations, but in very specific situations they are very not okay. I mean, would you trust a formation that has about a little bit less than a 30% chance to hit in most market conditions, or at least in our current market condition? Probably not. Neither would I. At least that wouldn't be good enough for myself to put on risk. Anyways, as it stands right here, I'd be looking for a drive down to the 200 exponential average at the very fucking least. And what do we see on the buy hourly Stokes? Down as well. So we got 4, 3, and 2 all on the same side. This one going below, as long as below $37,000. And again, more aggressive contraction phase on HVP over here as well. So I'm looking for HVP to come down at least to the 50 percentile on the 4-hour, and then on the very low time frames like the 2 and hourly should probably come down into the teens or maybe even lower than that. And then I'd be looking for Bitcoin to try to put in another low, grind out the low side of the lower $30,000 region. What we know, whether it ends up being like 32,000 or 33,000, I don't have strong opinions on that. My strong opinion is on Bitcoin will very likely try a bounce off that region, and I remain, again, as long as the higher term time frames conditions are met, long-term bullish. Looking for an upside resolution out of this range. Anyways, moving on to the hourly, what do we see right here? Literally same shit on our momentum oscillators. I mean, this is like as I shouldn't say it's as good as it gets, like obviously, because you want to see like all time frames on each other's sides. But in this case right here, another rejection of getting out of the bearish control zone and down. It's looking very likely. Some hidden bearish divergence along the way as well. Credit to Caretaker on this one, and historical volatility percentile actually did get all the way down to a fucking zero read right there, multiple zero reads on the last sort of local high that we saw on this time frame. So again, all shorter term time frames are angled towards the downside right here, and if I had to call it right now, I would be looking for a drive down at the very least to about 34.5 to be exact. I do have this horizontal right here at about 34 even, it looks like. Actually a little bit below 34 even. This is the one that I really start to judge another move off of, even though it doesn't look like much. This one actually does matter quite a bit to me, because if this one does break at 33,750, that is on a 4-hour closure, then I would be looking for another drive down, almost $2,000 to 32,000 bucks at the very least, at which point I would very much be looking for a big, at the very least, scalp bounce there. So fair enough. Anyways, for full disclosure, I'm actually not trading the lower term timeframes, certainly not on a weekend, and I'm actually trying more long-term minded strategies at the current moment in time, just because I am, trying to expand my own horizons as a mostly range trader. It would be nice to, do something different for a little bit, especially when things are trending rather hard, which I did catch a few positions way long ago, about 3-4 months ago, but I've already given most of those away. Anyways, medium term time frames like the 12-hour right here, again downside angled. I think this one, very very likely 34,000 bucks, 32.5, certainly on the menu as well. I don't have a strong opinion on where you get that wick down, whether it's between about 32.5 or 34, but I do think that the next move is down here. Looking at 12-hour Stokes, what do we see? Ooh, this one's actually really, really important right here. We do see a potential rejection of the bullish control zone in progress right now. That will be confirmed later today in about 6.5 hours, it looks like, with any sort of a closure below 37,500. If that condition is met, yes, extremely likely we're going to come down, probably even stab 32.5 if I had to call it. And 12-hour Jewel, given a bit of a hodl your short signal as well, to be fair. And what do we see on the daily? We see daily kind of flip-flopping around here. Now here's the thing, and here's ideally what would happen if Bitcoin is going to remain bullish coming into this next week and gun for some new all-time highs, and it would be something like this. So remember this trend line right here on the daily, this one that's been connected with the late September lows, the early December lows, and potentially these middle of January lows. Well, that's coming in right around the edge of the bullish control zone, right? And it is also kind of, increasing the momentum over time, which is typically a damn good sign as you do put in higher lows. And we're talking about significant higher lows, because we're talking about, we're talking about literally 10,000 lows connected with your $18,000 lows. And then after that, I mean, this would be about a $32,000 low. Now, here is ideally what I want to see, and now I'm going to get a little bit into crystal ball type shit right here. But if I do see a signal like this, it'd be very, very good for confirming this as not just reaccumulation, but getting ready for another move to the upside and likely new all-time highs to the upside. And we can talk about targets after that. And it'd be this. So while I do believe that Bitcoin does come down here in the short-term timeframes, if Bitcoin does come back up by end of day for closure, 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight, and does close above this level right here, 35,632, then we will see daily Stokes cross back onto the upside, thus fulfilling yet again another test on this trend line that has been putting in our higher lows on this rally for a long time now. September, October, November, December, January, almost 5 months, so almost half a year. I mean, at that point. So with that said, currently Bitcoin is right at that strike. I mean, it would actually cross it up as of its current moment in time. But if Bitcoin does head lower, then it's obviously going to be up to the Boolaws to close this one above that level by end of day. And that will then, again, set in the buys for new highs, likely coming this week, or at least a try towards the prior all-time high this week. So can Bitcoin come back down, grind out the 21 exponential moving average on the daily, which By the way, guess where it is? 34,000 bucks, and then, or, yeah, 34,000 bucks, and then close above that area by end of day. Yes, very much possible. So that's what I'd be on the lookout for, and that would yet again be another higher low right here, and really start to shape itself up as reaccumulation, as we do see that further confirmed. Again, referencing the open interest data over here, which has been more or less just oscillating between the $6.5 billion marker and the $5 billion marker to the downside, with Bitcoin coming down a little bit more yesterday, while open interest does come down a little bit more as well. What is that? Just some long taking profit, albeit a very, 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 very minimal amount here. So again, it kind of just sets into the narrative that we're likely to see more of the same. In this case, that would be, well, that would be more uptrend, and within the context of this current market, that would be obviously reaccumulation. So that's the specific condition that I really want to see met if Bitcoin is going to, again, play a little bit of short-term downside displeasures and then give another try to the upside coming this week. So, it'd essentially be a bit of a fake out. I know that, like, for the newer people in this market, a few $1,000 move is extremely scary. I mean, people called this a crash right here. I think for anyone who's been in this market right now, yes, it is a big move, and percentage-wise, it certainly is a big move, absolutely. But within the context of Bitcoin specifically, is it out of the ordinary? No, not at all. I mean, we've seen plenty of pullbacks in prior upside markets. Of course, I've gone through this a million goddamn times as well, so I don't want to bore your face off with this. But going back on over here, we do see all of these pullbacks that are 20 to anywhere between about 20 to 40%, top to bottom. This one's 25% right here, and this is all within the context of a general upside market, right? 20% right there from close to close, 25% right there. We got this one over here a little bit more, probably 37%, not bad, but again, you get the idea. Again, this one right here, about 23% if we're going from close to close. So looking at it right now, would that be within the context of Bitcoin's, historical narrative? Yeah, absolutely. So no major issues with that as well, at least from my side. Although, yes, it is a big move. It's just, well, we're looking at a trending asset right here. So fair enough. Anyways, okay, cool. What else do we want to talk about? 2 days or anything to be aware of right here. 2 days is a little bit interesting. I don't really know what to make of it just yet. Did we get a new date? Yeah, we did get a new one today. Yeah, I think it's a little bit too young and it's still to life. 3 day, I think is quite obvious here. Very likely does come down somewhere around low $34,000 region. Could it reach a little bit lower than that towards the 10 simple here at about 33 or 32 and a half? Yeah, possible, definitely possible. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I just want to see it bounce off there, close on the daily above that 35.7 level. That would look good coming into this next week of trading. And then also, would that close above the topside weekly Bollinger Band? Oh, by the way, it would, because that's 35,400. Isn't that weird how that works? Bollinger Bands, Stokes on the daily, long-term trend line, trend in general, and also structure as well. So let's also talk about targets if and when Bitcoin does move outside of the context of the current range. So hey, get the fuck off this goddamn chart. There we go, right here. So we do have a nice fib. I actually did a bearish retracement on this one just to derive some upside targets if and when Bitcoin does get there. And it would be something like this. If Bitcoin does hit the upside resolution point, which would be a 4-hour delta closure above 41,000 bucks It's actually, yeah, about 41,000 bucks. Now, could you use this local high right here? Probably could. Would I use it? Yeah, I won't. And that's $40,000 even. Then I would be looking for an extension to the 1.272 at just below 44,000 bucks right here. Then probably plays in a range between there and the 1.414, a couple $1,000 higher. And realistically, these things very rarely, if I wouldn't say if ever, but very rarely in my experience, have I seen these guys produce like actual reversals, like sustained reversals. Usually things will gun up for either the 2 or the 2.272 after that, which that's actually at 50,000 bucks, a little bit above 50,000 bucks. So that's actually where I would be looking towards if Bitcoin were to fulfill that criteria. Of course, it's still well and far away, but let's talk about the downside as well, because that is, should always have a contingency point for that and a plan for if things go the other way. As currently I am just sitting here and watching, waiting, wishing, whatever the fuck that song is from that guy who probably no one knows anymore. And it'd be this. If Bitcoin does break below the current base on a 4-hour, that would be about it'd be about 31,000 bucks actually. So I've been saying 30,000 bucks, probably more like 31,000 bucks. Then yes, I would be looking for a big move down. And when I say big move down, I mean, in this case, it'd be about a $7,000 to $8,000 move, maybe even a $10,000 move down to about 23,000 to 24,000 bucks right here. So fair enough. I mean, that's quite the thing. Now bounces would be implied along the way. I think you can kind of figure it out from my horizontals right here, 26.2, 27.5. those are the two big ones that I'd be looking for. But ultimately, I'd be looking for those bounces to fail. So that's, if things were to actually reverse, that's essentially what I'd be looking for. But for right now, I kind of just hold with my, hold with the previous notion, and I should actually restructure these right here, seeing as we have a new 4-hour high. Of course, it's happening over a weekend, so fuck the weekend as always, and makes me look silly yesterday, but fair enough. That's weekend trading for you, I guess, and that's also why I don't trade on the weekends. And now that we have another 4-hour high right here, right around about 37.5, we could use that to drive a short-term time frame trade, likely back up to about 39 or 40,000 bucks. So that is, to be fair, about a $1,500 to $2,000 move. Which, that's very tradable as well. I mean, I'm not going to say that's a small move at all. It's a small move within the context of the current price. But $2,000 is always $2,000 move. It wasn't so long ago when Bitcoin was $3,000 just in 2019, where a $2,000 move would have put you, you would have shaved off about 3/4 of your price, huh? Anyways, okay, we're already 20 minutes into this bitch, and I am actually, I've already said most of the things that I do want to say here. Let's go check out Caretaker's ranges. I'm curious what they're saying right now. This is an hourly, so it's going to be a little bit more on the short-term side, showing 34,000 to the downside versus 39,000 to the upside. It's actually not very helpful right there. Let's go to the 4-hour, as this thing does typically, over the weekend, typically things are just less trustworthy. 4-hour range showing it a little bit more to the extreme to the downside, $32,000 versus 42 to the upside. Obviously, 42 is a clear breakout to the upside as well. What about the buy hourly? I'm trying to find some that matches up so that I can use that and document that going forwards. Buy hourly seems to be the one that's actually getting it right here. And that, typically is going to be true over a weekend where things kind of come back into, try to line up with CMEs once again, seeing as they aren't really trading. Just, usually it's fucking mess. That's what it is. Showing about 34,000 to the downside versus about 39 to the upside, which is kind of where I'm at as well. I'd actually be a little bit higher to the upside there, but this is on declining volatility, so we'd expect that would, start to expand if Bitcoin actually were to gun, higher or lower, which is going to obviously expand those ranges as well. So yeah, I do like that, and that would further confirm those regions, and I still stick with them. What else do we want to talk about while we're here? Oh yes, altcoins. Okay, so this actually is rather interesting right now. I do typically like to talk shit about altcoins, and I have been talking shit about altcoins since September, which I very much stand by, as we did go all the way up from about 58 to 73% right here. But is this the reversal that you're looking for? I mean, if things close here, yeah, kind of has to be, doesn't it? And we did get that short-term move to the downside yesterday that we spoke about. Actually, even overshot that. Does this one want to go? Does this one go further south? It looks likely. Yes. Yeah, it does look likely. Fair enough. Well, shit. Looks like I'm probably generally bullish on most altcoin Bitcoin pairings. Maybe over the next week. However, short term probably does try a bit of a bounce here off the 10 simple on the weekly. But, I mean, do I really trust moving average on something like this? I mean, I guess it does kind of correlate to trends. So yes, you can use that, but I'd rather not. Let's go look at a few pairings here and see what they're looking like. So started off with Theta. This one's been interesting as of recently. This one, we actually were looking for some short-term upside yesterday. I do recall that to about 6,100 Satoshis. Pretty close, but it looks like it's going to give another try up there anyways. Probably like 6,300 Satoshis is what it's looking like to me. Moving on to, where's my link BTC? Yeah, there you are. Hello, sir. How you doing? Did we hit our, no. Hold on. The weekly is a very interesting one to me here. Should I judge this off Link or Ethereum? I think Ethereum still acts more or less as the index of most altcoins. Now, keep in mind, I don't really check out the DeFi coins. I don't really check out like the more obscure altcoins. Not my game. Not interested in it. And it's not because like I don't think that you can't make money with it. Of course you can. I mean, there's several people who've gotten incredibly rich off those just in our community, which is, hey, fair enough. If that's your game, that's your game. And more respect to you. For myself, I don't like to do it because, well, usually these coins have a lack of liquidity. Usually they don't trade on margin, so you can't short. So that means position management is going to be a fucking headache for someone like myself. And also on top of that, I'm just not wanting to go on like these shitcoin exchanges and put my fucking financial information there as well. So again, to each their own. But in this case right here, if Link were to close this week weekly anywhere above 64,000 Satoshis, that's going to be your clear signal that this is actually going to fucking have a massive green dildo, probably up 200,000 Satoshis over the next few weeks. But let's go reference Ethereum. Actually, let's go back down to the daily right here. First, maybe even the 4 hour. If anything, actually looking for a little bit of short-term downside here. Back down to like maybe 50 or 51,000 Satoshis. Let's see, where's Butyrol? There we go. Butyrol, how you doing? Yes, we did hit our 3.3 million, actually overshot that by another 100,000. So there you go. Trading momentum also is back up on new highs for this run off of a golden cross. Bullish. Yeah, okay, there you go. All right, yeah, all right, okay. I guess it's alt season. Fair enough, you altcoin fuckers. It's alt season, I guess. Now, of course, you want to see another high being printed on the weekly as well, but just looking at the daily structure right here, this is, that is strength. I do respect the golden cross in this regard, because you have 1, 2 tests. On this one right here, it actually had a chance to really undo this and do the fake out. We did not meet the criteria for that by taking out the 8th of January low. So I guess I stay with my own rules. It's bullish, and this one very likely does lead into a weekly reversal. And over the next few months, looks like alts get to play with Bitcoin, I suppose. So fair enough. There you go. Congrats to all the altcoin hodlers. Hopefully you haven't been hodling the last 3 years, and hopefully you just entered in over the last couple weeks. In fact, if you just entered in over the last 3 to 4 weeks, pretty damn good. Pretty damn fucking good. Anyways, okay, what else do we want to talk about? Maybe we'll look at some US dollar pairings as well, seeing as that's relevant for probably most people in this world who, don't live their life in Satoshis, put in dollars or some other fiat currencies. Daily on Ethereum. Looks, it looks good here. It looks very similar to Bitcoin. I do think that there's probably another move back down to like 1100 base, but that's going to obviously be an opportunity. Although I don't trade something like this, but this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, blah, 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 blah. But overall, this one very likely does try for new highs over the next few weeks. Weekly's pretty damn strong here. Any sort of a closure basically here or higher, let's call it 1225 on the weekly tonight. I'd probably be looking for a retest of the prior all-time highs and probably new all-time highs on top of that. This is a very strong read right here. I mean, remember what Bitcoin did when it was consolidating right below its prior all-time high at $20,000. It took about 4 weeks, if I recall properly. Yes, indeed it did. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stair steps its way up, and then boom, just absolute fucking moonshot, 100% move to the upside from there. So I do quite like that. And if I had to call it right now, looks like the altcoin marks are going to follow. And it looks like we got some cool things to be looking towards if you're an altcoin trader. Link's also the other major interesting one that I do follow with any sort of a closure today above $19. I'd start to drive targets back up. Well, I guess we already hit our next target to the upside based off this measure move. That was $24.50. I'd extend that to about $28.50 to $30 up here if that condition is met. Now, simultaneously, I would be looking for another move down to about $19 this week. But that would again be an opportunity rather than like a scare. This is very obviously reaccumulation right here and a breakout going in our face like right now. Again, assuming that condition is met with closing this weekly above $19, I'd both be looking for a closure above $19, then Link to likely come back down and test that area sometime early this next coming week, and then rally off there and look pretty damn good. Anything else that we want to check out? Not really, to be honest with you. What about Ripple? Is Ripple rallying too? No, not really. Not even the Ripple can get it going, huh? Stellar. What about Stellar? Stellar Rumens. Whoa, is this the real Ripple? Is this the real Ripple? I'd be looking for this one to head up to about 45 cents over the next few weeks. Looks pretty damn good too. What about Litecoin? Definitely a laggard here, but similar thing. As long as you close this weekly above 140. Probably does consolidate at a high level and give another try to the upside. And you can start targeting like 250 or whatever the fuck. So there you go. And I think this is a good time for me to start to wrap this bitchy up. Let's go back here. Okay, so we'll leave this chart for the lower term time frames. Then I want to match it up with the daily, and we'll start off with this one over here. Okay, cool. All right, let me just stretch it out. Maybe take another swiggy of this water over here. There we go. All right. Get the sweet, succulent sounds of that water being gulped down my throat in the early morning hours. It's good for your soul. All right. Let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin on the weekly going to have a chance on spot price action to close above the top side trend band once again, of which if that happens, I would still look at this as a trend in progress, and ultimately Bitcoin very likely does gun for not just a test towards a prior all-time high, which is I believe about 42,000 bucks on Bitstamp, but likely does try to gun for new all-time highs over the next few weeks. With that in mind, that top side trend band as of the current moment in time is 35,440. Remember that number. Now, technically speaking, this is likely a formality, seen as CMEs have kind of already done that on Friday, and by extension, the 3-day did the same thing a little bit earlier. So with that in mind, I would still favor that, but I want to see it fully fulfilled on spot price action as well, and then likely over the next couple of weeks I would be looking for new all-time highs. Now, with that in mind, does that change the short term? I basically have the same thing to say about the short term that I did yesterday. I do believe that there's a little bit of short-term downside here. Probably does come back down at somewhere around 34.5 to 33,000 bucks if I had to guess. We do see that all lower-term time frame momentum oscillators are on the same side right now, heavily in the bearish control zone after rejecting getting out of the bearish control zone. More importantly, the 4-hour Stokes remain into the downside as long as below 36,800. So as long as that condition is met, further downside, at least on this time frame, our momentum is implied. 3-hour right here, same side, same shit. 36,400 is the magical number on this one. Bi-hourly showing 37,000 bucks and down, rejecting the bullish control zone, just as equally devastated. And the hourly doing the same thing in the bearish control zone over here as well. 36,100 is the magical number right there. Now, with that in mind, that does mean that, I'd be looking for a little bit of short-term downside here. And again, I don't really have any, a couple areas of interest right here. 34,500 would be an obvious one just because that is a 382 retracement. And also, we do see a few wicks cumulative within this region. Now, on top of that, we do obviously have this low right here on our higher low structure, which is 33,750. If this area does get broken, I would drive targets down all the way to about 32,500. But realistically, when I go over here and I look at the 3-day, for example, I'd essentially be looking for, at the very least, a backfill in last 3-day open, about 34,000 bucks. Do we get a wick lowered towards the 10 simple at 33? Maybe yes. I don't have a strong opinion on that. My strong opinion is on the first pass, very likely is at the very least a bounce. Now, remember that critical number that we spoke about earlier with the weekly. Well, let's go over here to the daily, because the daily is very interesting right now. First off, the daily 21 did the downside. Guess where it is? 34,000 bucks. So a natural area to be aware of. But more importantly, we do see that the daily Stokes have been playing out the same trend line that has been putting in the higher lows on Bitcoin ever since late September of the year 2020. So about a 6 month long relevancy right here, of which this was getting the lows at 10,250. I'm talking about way the fuck on over here, 10,250, actually 10,500 to be exact. Then once we connect with it once again in middle of December, we do see that price action is right here on the $18,000 low on this consolidation phase before the next major breakout. And then once again, Bitcoin very likely does test it today. I mean, I'd consider this already testing it right now. It's coming in at the edge of the bullish control zone. And as you can see right here, it will naturally cross back onto the upside above what area? 35,630, we'll call it. Why is that relevant? Well, not only would it fulfill another test of this and turn back up in the bullish control zone, but it would also imply that we're going to close the weekly above the topside Toronto band once again over here. So while short term, probably does have a little bit of downside, although I'm not as gung ho about that. It's a higher term timeframes that drive the narrative for the next few weeks to come as far as direction goes. So I would still have the bias with looking for this to ultimately try some more upside if those conditions are met. So with that said, I do want to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest. Take care. And until next time.